Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing? Thanks so much for your patience and for being here for Ocean's 8. My name is Dave Karger. I'm a host on Turner Classic Movies, and I have the pleasure of introducing 8, very appropriately, members of the cast and crew of Ocean's 8. So please help me welcome them. First off, we have the co-writer of the film, Olivia Milch. Behind her is the director and co-writer, Gary Ross. And from the cast, Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Kate Blanchett, Sandra Bullock, Awkwafina, and Sarah Paulson.
Woo!
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
What a pleasure it is to be here with all of you. I just need to know, there's a text chain going on between all of the women in the cast of this movie. What was the most recent topic of conversation in this text chain?
What we were going to wear today.
I was going to wear a dress fully made of tampons.
Yep, she was. There's proof on the phone.
They disapproved.
So it was successful.
Yep.
Everyone
We're
was
all
great.
wearing
Stopped the
tampons.
magic. Yes.
Gary, this
Wait
film-
a minute, there's a text chain?
Gary is also wearing a tampon in support.
I
That's the
had
kind
no
of director
idea
he
about
is.
this text chain.
We're going to get you added to that.
Okay.
You didn't
Gary,
get the tampon memo?
I didn't get the memo, Kate, I don't know.
this movie was your idea.
It was.
Tell me how you came up with the idea for an all-female Ocean's film and how you got it approved by the appropriate people.
It was like 5-6 years ago, actually. It was right after Hunger Games. I think the thing that stuck with me about Hunger Games was that this kind of impact that it had on girls, seeing a protagonist like that they could relate to, in the kind of movie that they'd never seen a protagonist like that in before. And so I was with a friend one night and we were talking about this, and I realized that there'd never been this kind of ensemble. There'd been a lot of male versions of this. There'd never been this kind of kick-ass ensemble of women coming together like this before, and I thought that was easy. And Soderbergh is a very good friend of mine and had done the previous films, and it was, I never told you this, Sandy, but it was right around the time of Gravity, and you and George were talking about the brother-sister relationship, and so I kind of took that seriously, and I went, wow.
We were talking about what?
What a brother-sister relationship you guys had in the press, and I...
Because we are related.
Yeah, so, exactly. So I kind of took that seriously. and went,
Secrets out, guys.
Maybe she could be his sister. So anyway, I presented that to Soderbergh and then to Jerry Weintraub, and then we went to Sandy, and Sandy said, well, if the script doesn't suck and if you actually get these people that you hope to get, then I might be interested, which we took as an absolute yes. And so then we went to Warner Brothers. That began a very long process of trying to get the movie made that really took 3 or 4 years, and then fortunately it culminated in this moment. And then the next thing I did was, Olivia and I were good friends, and we're collaborating on other projects together. And I'm not stupid enough to think I could write this movie by myself for obvious reasons. So I reached out to Olivia, and that began, a really great partnership. We were side by side until this moment where we're side by side. So that's essentially what happened.
Olivia, what did you look at as your primary job coming on as the co-writer of this?
Well, I think we were really fortunate to sort of have a continuous conversation. As Gary said, I mean, we sat side by side at the computer, at the keyboard, and I was right there next to him on set at the monitor, and we really viewed this as wanting to stay true to who these characters are, who these incredible women were, and what story we wanted to tell, and maintaining that and doing them justice continuously throughout the process. So we just had a lot of fun sitting next to each other and kind of figuring out what would this be and how would we come somewhere like this incredible place. And
It was a pilot, co-pilot situation.
yeah, exactly. But that was, I think more than anything, we just wanted to make sure that we were doing them justice and doing justice to the incredible legacy of what it feels like to be in a heist film that's cool and breezy, and watching a group of people who have a unique skill set pull off something incredibly badass and excellent.
Sandra, do you recall first hearing about this idea and what you thought, gut reaction?
Yes, I remember Jerry called, yes.
Yes, I do.
Jerry Weintraub who's I've known for years and I don't know if you guys have ever had the pleasure of meeting Jerry. He's no longer with us, but he called and says, I got this idea. I got to present to you. I was like, all right. And then, as it would be, that Gary and Stephen and Jerry were in the room, and I honestly didn't think it would work or get made. I thought it was a fun idea. I said, but if you do it, let's just get the Yen character back, because we need a gymnast.
It's true.
But I didn't think at that time that it would get made. It was like a year and a half-ish later that a script did appear.
How many hours of phone conversations did you insist on having with George Clooney to really delve into the brother-sister relationship between Danny and Debbie, get the backstory just right?
Many.
Well, they grew up together.
We
so
grew up
they-
together, yes. Thank you, Paulson. Yes. She was there.
I was there too. It's weird.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that, you're saying like 2 or 3 years ago this seemed like an impossibility.
Right.
Like, how could you possibly get this made?
Oh, yeah.
And it's so great that it's being released now when you go, well, of course. It's a lot has shifted, I think.
There are more of courses now than there were then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate, what are your recollections of both paging through the
I
script?
have early onset dementia, so I will try.
Humor me.
This is hard for me.
I want to know about first paging through the script for the first time and seeing entire scenes with 8 women fully formed together, and then what it was like to actually be on the set filming it in such a way.
Well, you read this. You don't read the script cold. You read the script with the kind of the pedigree and the legacy of the movies, which Gary knew absolutely, inside out, and me having had a working relationship with Soderbergh and knowing that Sandy was going to be in it. I kind of could already see the tone. And then, of course, the first question is, well, who are the other ladies going to be? And Gary sort of lay forth his A-team, which he got. And so, in the end, the script, it's a malleable thing. And there were a lot of changes that were being made. It happens every time, not just with this movie. So in the end, to me, it's about the ensemble. So once I knew who the other women were and knowing the franchise, it's a terrible McDonald's term to talk, use in movies, but, it is. I just felt like it would be a great, fun thing to do. And it's a risk, and I thought it was a risk worth taking.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Absolutely. The dementia is not showing its face.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for that.
Guys. Thank you.
And it's so fun to watch you play Daphne because you're sending up this celebrity culture. It's a world that you know very well, but it's also a world that you're able to obviously distance yourself from and play a role like this. What was most exciting for you to kind of play with in this character?
Thank you for saying that it's obvious. It was fun to kind of know that the research was already done, that the muscle memory was in there about what her life was like, but to wonder what would have happened if at the beginning of my career I thought of fame as something that was real, as opposed to the way I do think about it, which is that it's very illusionary. Kate, what word am I looking for?
Illusionary?
Thank you so much,
You
Madam
said it.
President. No, I kind of swallowed it. And so I had a blast, and I was such a huge fan of the George Clooney and Steven Soderbergh version of it, and so I knew the energy of the movies. And I think one of the later cast members to come on, and so I was just so excited to be in this cast, and I was just really, just really thrilled to play with everybody. I've never been given an opportunity like this, and I've been doing this for a minute. And it's a wonderful space to occupy, and I'm really excited for the moment when this doesn't feel special anymore, except for the fact that it is always special when really talented people are given opportunities to do their jobs.
Mindy, what changed in the character of Amita from the initial conception to your embodiment of her?
I think that's a question for the writers. About,
Well, you would be one. You're a writer.
right? No, but for Amita, what you're saying? What changed from the original conception of her character?
And did you have input
Well,
in it?
I met with Mindy at Dupar's in Studio City.
I wish it was more glamorous than that. Why couldn't you
But
have
we
said?
met
Chateau
for
Marmont, but
I
okay.
think now it's a Blue Mercury.
We met
so
for,
it's
and
more glamorous.
it's now a Sephora. So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
and And there, I didn't know this, but in Jackson Heights, there's a thriving Indian American community that has a large jewelry industry. So it actually fit the character wonderfully, and we kind of leaned into that. And of course, Mindy is a font of ideas, and so we just had a very electric breakfast. And
We had an electric breakfast.
not cooked on gas, it was electric.
We had an electric breakfast. Well, this was actually one of the more challenging roles, which I didn't anticipate, because I had this idea that the Ocean's movies were just a breezy hangout where George Clooney plays pranks on everyone. But this was very challenging for me because I had to learn Hindi for a scene I had, which, when none of you guys were in the scene, but I had to have a fight with my mother in Hindi. And
Oh, you should have told me. I'm fluent.
oh, you're fluent. I should have known. I should have asked. Of course, Kate would be fluent in Hindi. And so I had to meet a coach and had to be coached in Hindi. And I think everyone maybe thinks that because I'm Indian, I had been raised speaking in Indian language, but I wasn't. So that part was challenging. But it's fun because I always play delusionally overconfident characters. And so this character was just like, I get to be involved. That was very nice to play someone who's more shy and gets to come out of her shell. No one has ever accused me of being shy before. So this was a nice role to play. Demure was nice.
And Sarah, I don't feel like any of us are gonna like meet any suburban woman and think the same thing again, right? It's super fun to see your twist on that kind of character. Was that fun to play?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I myself am not a mother, so it was a stretch in and of itself. I sort of thought it was interesting that she had all those microwaves and blenders in her garage, that she was, she used to very much be immersed in this way of living, and she got out, and Godfather over here comes back and pulls her back in. Because private school's expensive. Those kids got to go to school,
Was there room to play around improvisationally, or were sticking to what was already there?
We played around a little bit. Carrie's like, you played around a lot.
And enthusiastically so, yes, absolutely, yeah.
And my scatological, some of it wasn't helpful. Is it a PG-13 movie?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Sorry,
in Europe,
Gary.
I think they'll hear everything you said, right? In America.
It's X-rated. It's X-rated,
Well, I kind of thought what's fun about Sarah and Annie in this movie is that they're both so funny in the movie, and I'm used to seeing you suffering on screen in a
Well, some of us have it.
gorgeous suffering, and you're also, so it was great to see them do these comic turns, and they're so funny in the movie. So that was really enjoyable for me to be able to see.
Awkwafina, you played a role in a movie called Dude, which Olivia wrote and directed.
Thank you for the shout out.
Of course.
Dude, on Netflix now.
Did you ever think that taking a role in kind of a small independent film would end up leading to a role in this kind of film? If I had told you that, what would you say?
No. Not at all, yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, it's weird, like, to think how a career goes and how you envision it might kind of go up the ladder, but in
Yeah,
this
I mean,
way.
I think Gary, you saw Dude, right? And
Yeah.
then we had a face, and then Olivia's like, this might be a thing, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not a thing. And then we got on FaceTime one night. They were writing, and Gary was like, hey, you got the role. And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go die in the corner now. So that's that, yeah.
One last quick thing before I open it up to all you. There's so many great, we're spoiler free here in this room, but there's a ton of great cameos in this movie, both at the Met Ball and then also bringing some of the Ocean's guys back. How hard was it, because there were other things that were shot that didn't make it in, how hard is it to decide what works and what has to end up not making it, Gary?
Well, I mean, that's the job, right? That's post. The fact that this post went so long probably shows you this one was very hard. Yeah, there were many cameos, as you guys know, without getting specific, that didn't make the movie, but I think that that's just a reflection of, your job, if you're hopefully doing it right, is to listen to the movie at each step and to let that be kind of a dynamic process and to hear what the movie wants. And what we started to learn that the movie wanted was it was about these women, much more than it was about the antecedent or the previous male versions. It was about them and their autonomy. And in order for it to be about their autonomy, they needed to be autonomous. So there are references, as you guys all know, to the previous stuff, but we tried to keep those references to a minimum. And let this group thrive.
Great. All right, what do you want to know? Right here in the front. We have a microphone for you. If you don't mind, everyone, just say your name and what outlet you're from and what country you're from.
And the
That would
name
be
of your
great.
hairdresser.
I will trade you for an interview. Thank you all for this wonderful film. My name is Diva, and I represent the Diva Review. And one of the thrills, I think, of the Sinatra, Ocean's 11, and Clooney hanging out with his friends is that you got the impression in both of those films that it was pretty much us watching Sinatra and Clooney hanging out with friends. And that created a chemistry that we see. I feel like in this film, we also have that chemistry. I'm not sure how close you guys are as friends personally, but
Sandra and I grew up together, so.
But I wondered if there was sort of bonding or any kind of like exercises that you guys did, outings, whatever.
We were able to bond and connect in the way that we could, in that we were working crazy long days. We were draped all over each other on a couch, at 12 o'clock at night, and you just, once we let our guard down and we realized we're in the company of safe people, I think we all sort of began the vomit fest of just, well, I did. I threw up first.
I had it in my hair.
Yes, you remember. You were there.
Okay, well, I
It's in your
blacked out,
hair.
so.
It's in your hair. It's about.
But no, I did. I went in hoping, and you don't always get what you hope for. And by the end, I think, and now continuously, and I think long past this film is out, I think we managed to connect on a level that we never ever would have been given a chance, because we don't get to work. The women, we're just, there's 5 roles and we're all just sort of looking for them, and they're all lone little islands, and here we were, Hawaii and all the smaller islands.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just trying to
Keep going with
something
it.
to write.
Working,
It sounds
Sandy.
really clever.
Geographical metaphor.
But no, I feel really lucky. I feel really lucky because there's no more stones I need to turn over, and on this one, I really feel that I came out with so much more than I ever imagined, and they might not feel the same, but I don't
Nope,
care.
don't feel that way at all.
Yes, Andy.
But no, I feel very lucky.
You'll always have the text chain.
Yeah.
Yes, right here, sir. And just wait for the mic if you don't mind. And introduce yourself, please.
Thomas Urban from AFP. I had a question. In the movie, Debbie mentions maybe an 8-year-old that might be out there and being inspired by this heist. I was just wondering, was it in the back of your mind that an actual 8-year-old might be inspired by like women having strong roles and being in this movie?
Well, I thought what was nice about this movie is that it passes, you guys all know about the Bechdel test, and this passes it with flying colors. I mean, the fact that we're orchestrating a crime as opposed to fighting over a man, there isn't even the specter of a man or romance.
There is.
in this.
There is.
Oh, Richard.
There are the Richard story. Yes. But we're
Don't
not.
eliminate him. We love him.
But I try not to do spoilers, but our conversations are not about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting. But it also got to be very glamorous in the movie as well, which was just so unusual and a lot of fun.
And we had a director who was really sympathetic to that, who wanted to make a story about women, so it doesn't, I think there's a thing where, all of us, every single person on this table wants to see more female directors, and that absolutely has to happen. I've just come from Cannes, where there were, 21 films and only 3 female directors, and it puts an inordinate pressure on them. But here, we have a director who really loves women and wanted to make a story where women could do their stuff, and so that's also fantastic.
And
Thank you.
And you can't underestimate the power of visual representation. And so to an 8-year-old girl, maybe we're not trying to say, go have a life of crime, but we're saying go do what you want. Go do what you want, and there's space for you. And there's space for you to do it with your friends, and there's room for all of you. And I think that films that have an everybody in mentality and message for people who have historically been excluded, I think that's a really good thing.
I love that.
Yeah,
Here,
I
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No,
You can say
no,
it.
Gary.
No,
you go.
Olivia and I were having a sidebar. No, I mean, one of the things we're also saying in that 8-year-old girl moment is you don't have to grow up, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you don't have to grow up and be a princess.
Excuse me.
That there are other, well, except for you. No, but there are other archetypes, and even even invoking kind of this trope of a criminal,
Yeah, I mean, as a 28-year-old, girl/woman on that set, I was awed every day by how incredible it was. I was getting to see these 8 distinct
Older women. Is that what you're saying?
No,
It's fine.
see, women of all stripes know that we're getting to see that representation, and I think that's what really matters, that you get to see not just archetypal, reduced, reductive, flat female characters, you're getting to see how distinct and complex and nuanced the possibilities are, and that's, I think, what really matters, especially to young women.
The mic is over here. Oh, does it work?
Hello? Oh, there we go. Hi, my name is Aisha Jordan. I work with Black Nerd Problems. And just on the realm of representation and things like that, what do you feel as writers was one of the most important things to convey when you're doing an Oceans film that is all women? And then as actors, you know, it's an amazing cast with like crazy ability. But what was important for you all as actors to convey through your roles to the public, like in this day and time with women, and what we're trying to kind of break out and fight against and all those things, and how they say, you know, women aren't funny, they won't be able to grab the attention, things like that. What was important for the writers and actors to put out there through your performances and writing?
I think, I'll let you answer this, but I think that one of the things that we're celebrating is not just their commonality, but their differences. That these are 8 distinct women from 8 distinct backgrounds, and that hopefully looks like what the world looks like, not just what Hollywood has made the world look like, if that's what you're kind of getting at. And that diversity was intentional and important to us, that it looked like the world, that this group of people needed to be, you know, very, very representative, you know. And so, I don't know, Olivia and I actually talked about this a lot. We had very many philosophical conversations side by side, but why don't you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think one thing is this movie was shot in New York City, and we shot in all 5 boroughs, and to show the world as it is, you know, that's what it feels like to be out in the world. There, you walk down the street, there are so many different kinds of people with every different kind of experience and background, and they're all together. And that felt really potent and palpable and important to us to tell that kind of story. And I think also any woman, but any human being at all and anywhere on the spectrum knows that women are funny and smart and complicated and nuanced and sometimes contradictory, and it's crazy, but we have to start seeing characters like that.
And I think also, like, when it comes to representation and diversity, there's a difference between, you know, kind of throwing in people of color, you know, women, and then actually representing them accurately and authentically. And I think the important thing about the characters in this movie is that we are not, especially the people of color in this movie, that's not defining our characters. Like, I am in the movie, I'm a New Yorker from Queens. That Asianness has nothing to do with it, and I think that's representation, and that's like where we're going. And I think this movie is going to be a step toward like a right direction in that case.
And also, if I just, one last thing, it's just women taking care of each other, women being good to each other, women stepping back and letting the more gifted step forward in the heist and whatever, recognizing talent and saying, go out and shine, I've got your back. And not fighting over some, sure, we can fight, but we're fighting for the greater good, which is a whole lot of money. But, but I think to me the most important thing was to show, I didn't care about the heist as much as I cared about how they treated each other and how they lifted each other up. And I think that's, to me, that's the world. It's not the world that's represented, I think, in you know, media a lot, but really what's happening is that there's just so much love and support. We now need to show it, and I think that'll help equalize a lot of things.
I see the mic right back here. Yeah.
Hi, Yuka, delivering a question from Yoshihiro from Japan. What a powerhouse of female. It's really incredible to see you all. We'd like to know, what was it like when these individual female got together for the first time for this movie? What was the atmosphere was like? What do you remember the most when all these incredible women got together for this movie?
One of the things I remember was the moment when I realized I didn't have to put a filter on, because what you said about feeling like an island on a set, I was used to that, you know, and I've been really lucky. I've worked with a lot of great women, but there was usually just 1 or 2 of us. And the idea that we could all bring all the experiences we've ever had and kind of put it into this shared pool, and all then collectively become better because we were all just together and able to share it. I mean, that was one of the things that was the first things that I remembered, was feeling safe and feeling like I was with people that I felt so proud to be amongst, and feeling like I was just, while having the best time of my life, learning and just like enjoying the view. It was incredible.
Hi, Akemi from Harper's Japan. This question is to director. I thought it's interesting, Rihanna is almost like queen of Met Gala, and she's playing almost opposite character in this film. How was her reaction when you said she's playing a hacker?
I think your question is that Rihanna, who is the queen of the actual Met Gala, is stuck in a halal truck. Well, we do give her a dress eventually. But I think Rihanna just loved that. I mean, the first conversation she and I had was about leaning into kind of her Bayesian roots. And we both love Bob Marley. And I mentioned dreadlocks, and she jumped up and down. This was after like 2 in the morning after a concert in Sweden. And then we decided on the Green Army jacket, just that would be draped over her. And this is just different than Rihanna gets to be in most of her public appearances, and she really loved all that. We did have to build one time, the dreads were so heavy and they were woven in. The grips had to build a special tray for her behind her chair one time just to support the dreads because they were actually so heavy. But she loved doing it, and I think she loved leaning into where she came from. And so she gets to be Queen of the Met Ball every year. I think she kind of enjoyed being in the halal garden. Yeah.
Where's the mic? Hi.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I'm with The Nocturnal. It's wonderful to be here, breathing the same air as you greats.
It's a little stinky up here.
No, bring it on. All about it. I was curious about your thoughts about the trend that seems to be rolling, which is wonderful, about reviving and remaking films with traditionally male ensembles, as opposed, or not as opposed to, but compared to creating new works with female ensembles. I was just curious if you could talk a bit about that.
I think it's both. I mean, what was great about this is yes, you've got the history of the franchise, you know, the Ocean's franchise behind it, but I think that's what I mean about the script being malleable, is we wanted to make it its own standalone thing. So it's got an echo of what came before, but it's not a remake. And if you were just doing, I think remakes are great, but if it was only remakes and there were no original stories, it's like any sort of sense of homogeneity in the film industry produces boring results. And whether that's homogeneity of cast or story, it's homogeneity is a big word.
I think that's a good one. I think everyone should use it. Kate comes up with
Very complicated, big word, big word. Can't spell it, but I can say it. So, I think it's not saying yes, you must do it this or that way. I think it's it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I also think that oftentimes there's a way of, because nobody on this table would say that one of the most exciting things is a new voice doing completely different material or launching a whole brand new franchise or something that's not based on a comic book. And then every time you think that way, you see a movie like Black Panther, which is completely revitalized that entire genre. So people can work within genres. Or, Lando Calrissian is being played by Donald Glover. So every time you want to make a rule about like, oh no, reboots, remakes, and this, and then it's a launching pad for great new characters, great new dialogue, and new relationships, and it's a shrewd way to get audiences to feel like, that there's that old saying with comedians, which is like you let the audience sniff your hand to feel comfortable, and it's like
What is that again?
sniff the hand. It's like a comedian saying of like you have to, like when you start off a set, you need to let them sniff your hand, sniff the hand with something familiar, and then they will feel on board. I just think it's a shrewd way to get to sneak in diverse voices. So I'm all for it. As long as they're sort of being, reinvented and reimagined.
Yeah.
Where's the mic? Hi.
Hi, hello, I'm Lucy Ugarte from Chicas Guapas TV from Argentina. And I would like to know, from the cast of Ocean 8, who do you think would be more likely to ruin a heist and why?
To ruin it?
Ruin it.
Yes.
Ruin a heist.
Ruin.
Yes. Sarah, why?
Why?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Why?
You have to explain.
Because she dances, she makes jokes, she does. What else do you do, Sarah? I
She
laughed.
dribbles.
We'd probably be like hanging from the heist, and someone's like, I can't do it, but like I could do this, and then just start dancing. She would have ruined. I would never.
Distraction.
Yeah.
I think it's between Paulson and Helena.
Oh, Helena with the charcuterie.
Helena would crack within seconds. She would just like,
sorry, what are we,
sorry, right.
She was always trying to get us to remember what we were doing in the moment before.
She's not even here to defend herself.
Yeah, I know.
guys. I
It's
mean,
good.
shame.
It's Helena. Let's go with
No,
that.
she likes it.
One thing I want to know, because I'm such an Oscar nerd, I can't help notice that of the 8 women, 3 are Oscar winners, the other 5 are future Oscar winners.
One's homeless.
Right, that's right. And I noticed that the first three we meet in the movie are the Oscar winners. We meet Sandy first, and then Kate, and then Anne. Is that coincidence or by design?
Way to connect
That's
the dots. No, that was not.
actually is the way Olivia and I always outline. We look for who's
ran out of
won
them, so
Oscars.
let's get
and
into
then we
those
try
losers.
to-
Descending order from success.
Try to
Bringing up the
construct
rear.
the
Losers
story
last. Yeah.
based on no. It was entirely unintentional, and we're very fortunate that.
We're very sorry.
But I might add that while we were filming, someone at the table was winning award.
Of course.
After
it was
award after
ridiculous.
award.
It was just like, oh, Paulson's won another
Yeah.
award. He's won the Emmy.
I'm gonna set and be like, just want an Emmy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Things aren't going really well for the rest of you.
Yeah.
Only the Oscar winners. Okay,
Don't have an Oscar.
Give it time, Sarah. Where's the mic? Hi.
Giovanna Grassi, Corriere della Sera, Italy, TV director. Can you tell us something about the art in the movie, the luxury, the glamour? Are so important in the movie, with some irony sometimes, but in other cases, no irony, just the luxury.
Just to make sure I understand the question, you're saying to discuss the style or the glamour?
The style, the
within-
glamour, the luxury, the image.
Well, I mean,
The
I think
fashion.
I think a lot of things. First of all, these women all have a tremendous sense of fashion, and they were tremendously collaborative with their designers, especially around the Met Ball in terms of what they wore. No one would dream of telling Kate Blanchett what to wear, but it's like I think that being able to shoot in here was a tremendous advantage. Being able to have the advantage of working with so many great designers was a tremendous advantage. I mean, we had Dolce build us 100 footman costumes out of silk that lined the stairs, going all the way up to the top of the stairs. So, I mean, that's kind of a remarkable thing in a film. So it is those details. You're promising a pretty sumptuous experience. You know, some of it just comes down to detail. Cartier loaned us a bunch of real jewels, you know. There were a lot of people who were willing to do cameos for us. Because, you know, all the extras at the Met Gala are famous. So we had kind of a...
Gary
Gala,
Gala,
Gary.
Gala, Gary.
Let me see if I can do a Paulson. Gala.
Gala.
But yeah, it was, you know, but it was, you know, it came down to a lot of that detail.
But I mean, it's a huge shout out to Sarah Edwards, who
Yes,
costume
absolutely.
designer. I mean, another costume designer fell out at the 11th hour, and she had to costume all of us distinctively. I mean, and she literally worked
Her tail off.
50 hours a day.
And it was that thing where every single morning, when anyone walked out of the trailer, it was a kind of like, oh my God. I mean, I personally wanted to wear everything Kate was wearing. So did everybody else. We all wanted Kate.
My Spanx included.
Yeah, your Spanx. And Sandy
you
had a
wouldn't
great
wanna wear
coat
Spanx.
that I wanted.
Lightly
and-
used.
Yeah.
But Kate's right. I mean, Sarah did this
She's
with
incredible.
3
Yeah.
weeks prep. And I don't think any of us have ever seen someone do the job better. I've never seen anyone do the job better.
Yeah, she was
She's
tireless.
a
You know,
genius.
I mean, sometimes when people have such a short amount of time, they can go into lockdown.
Yeah.
She was the most collaborative, creative, open-minded costume designer with such flair, you know, that I think I've ever encountered. It was
While
an
remaining
impossible
kind.
task.
Yeah.
And also, when you think about what that job is, right, you're not spending that much time. You have 8 women, not 2. And so she has to create 8 distinct individual characters, all of whom have to be defined realistically, subtly, with style.
But like with 7, I mean, each of us had about 60 different changes.
Yeah, yeah, it's remarkable. Yeah.
It was, she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
She worked very closely with the designers as well, and the designers were really, for the most